Welcome, esteemed state ministers, policymakers, and educational authorities. I am absolutely thrilled you could join us today. Look, what we're about to review isn't just a standard proposal for a new academic curriculum. It's a visionary, strategic reform that's literally about the survival and sustainable development of Nepal. We are talking about a fundamental shift in how our nation understands, prepares for, and responds to crises. So let's jump right in.
Okay, here is our strategic roadmap for this explainer. We're going to cover 1. Nepal's disaster ecosystem, 2. Defining disasterology, 3. The academic gap, 4. A humanities curriculum, 5. Empowering professionals, and finally, 6. Vision for research. By the time we wrap up, you'll see a clear, actionable path forward for our nation's resilience.
To solve any massive problem, we've got to truly understand the environment it lives in. So, Section 1. Nepal's disaster ecosystem. Our geographic and socioeconomic reality is frankly incredibly complex. We sit squarely on the Himalayan seismic belt, we've got these beautifully fragile, steep ecosystems, and on top of that, we're experiencing hyper-rapid urbanization. The recurrent earthquakes, the floods, the urban fires, they aren't just unpredictable acts of nature. They're a compounding reality, and as leaders, it's absolutely crucial we urgently address the human and developmental choices that are amplifying them. When we use systems thinking, the whole picture shifts. A disaster is never just a hazard, like an earthquake or a flood happening in isolation. It's what happens when that hazard collides with our exposure, meaning our people and our infrastructure. Add in our socioeconomic and political vulnerabilities, and you get a disaster. Ultimately, the outcome depends entirely on our capacity and resilience. It's a direct reflection of the choices we make as a society. Recognizing this incredibly complex ecosystem leads us directly to the foundational science behind our pitch today. Section 2. Defining disasterology. I want you to really let this foundational quote sink in. Sham Janavli, the executive director of NDRC Nepal, puts it perfectly. Disasterology is the scientific study of the ecosystem of disaster. That is the outcome of adverse consequences of human and nature, conflicts with development, and malpractices of common assets that are attributed to the socioeconomic and cultural, geopolitical, environmental, and technological factors. It hits the nail on the head. Our mismanagement and poorly planned development are what actually create the risk. Simply put, disasterology is a multidisciplinary framework. It studies disasters not as some random streak of bad luck, but as socially produced outcomes. It's a real game changer because it completely elevates how we handle crises. We're moving away from treating disasters as these reactive, short-term emergency projects and establishing this entire field as a proactive, rigorous academic science. The interconnectedness of all these factors is just undeniable. Socioeconomic inequality, cultural risk perceptions, geopolitical instability, environmental degradation, and even technological failures. They're all spokes on the exact same wheel. A failure in one single part of this system creates massive cascading effects across our entire spectrum of human security. We have the theory, for sure, but as policymakers, we need to look at our current institutional reality. Section 3, the academic gap. Let's be honest about where we are right now. Our disaster response is heavily fragmented across different sectors, and it's incredibly project-driven. Basically, we react when a crisis hits. But ask yourselves, can our nation really afford to only manage disasters after they've already wiped out our development gains? No way. We have to transition to our proposed future, which is a unified, knowledge-driven governance approach that actually anticipates and mitigates risk beforehand. The real turning point here is the year 2017. That is when we passed the landmark Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Act. It was a huge legislative victory, right? But to fully implement that act and bring our national strategies to life, we desperately require specialized, localized human capital. We've got the law on the books. Now we just need the trained leaders to execute it. And that brings us to the concrete solution we're presenting to you today, anchored right at the esteemed Tribhuvan University. Section 4. A humanities curriculum. We are proposing a Bachelor of Arts in Disasterology and Humanitarian Studies, housed specifically under the Faculty of Humanities and Social Sciences. This is a massive academic reform. Traditionally, disaster management gets lumped into engineering or environmental science. But by bringing it into the humanities, we get to integrate indigenous knowledge, social sciences, and the actual cultural context of our communities into our national defense strategy against disasters.
Let's trace how this builds over a 4-year academic journey. Year 1 grounds the students in fundamental theories. Then, Year 2 moves them into hazard science and local governance. By Year 3, we've got them out in the field, doing emergency management and climate adaptation practicums. Finally, in Year 4, they master advanced policy advocacy and tackle a capstone thesis. It's a brilliant, natural progression from theory straight to field-tested governance.
Now, for our planning board, here is our strategic timeline. We aren't trying to do this overnight. Phase 1 is all about concept and curriculum approval. Phase 2 is our actual academic launch. Then, by years 3 to 5, we roll out professional certifications, and by years 5 to 10, we're establishing postgraduate programs, ultimately positioning Nepal as a regional center of academic excellence.
So, what kind of professionals is this program actually going to produce? Let's check out Section 5, Empowering Professionals.
Educational authorities, please note the sheer caliber of these competencies. Our graduates won't just walk away with theoretical knowledge of disaster science. They're going to possess hard technical skills like GIS mapping and hands-on risk assessment, paired with high-level professional leadership and a strict ethical grounding in humanitarian principles. These are exactly the dynamic problem solvers our ministries need right now.
And when these highly trained folks graduate, they're stepping directly into vital career pathways. We're talking disaster risk reduction officers, emergency management specialists, and policy analysts. Think about the massive gaps currently sitting in our municipal emergency centers, in the NDRRMA, and within local NGOs. These are the specific professionals who are going to plug those holes on day 1.
Finally, an academic discipline can't survive on teaching alone. It has to be fueled by constant, rigorous discovery. Section 6, Vision for Research.
At the very core of our long-term strategy is establishing the Nepal Disasterology Research Center, or the NDRC. The NDRC is going to be the engine of this entire new discipline. It's designed to manage national data, conduct deep policy research, and translate academic findings into life-saving, evidence-based policy, not just for Nepal, but literally for the entire Hindu Kush Himalayan region.
The functions of the NDRC are just incredibly exciting. They'll handle our national disaster database, conduct vital risk analytics and early warning research, and pioneer climate risk modeling. They're also going to manage the publication of the brand new Nepal Journal of Disasterology. Backing an independent research center like this isn't just an academic expense, It's a direct, measurable investment in sustainable human security.
And we're holding ourselves accountable to some pretty visionary metrics. Over the next 10 years, our target is to graduate 500 specialized students, train 5,000 certified professionals out in the field, and produce 100 peer-reviewed journal publications, along with 100 actionable policy papers. This is our concrete commitment to moving Nepal from a reactive state to a completely proactive, resilient nation.
I want to leave you with this final, vital question today. Are we going to keep just reacting to disasters, constantly counting the costs in lost development and tragically lost lives? Or will we boldly choose to educate the next generation to actually prevent them? The mandate is so clear. Embracing disasterology isn't just an academic choice. It's an absolute national imperative. Thank you all so much for your time, your focus, and your shared commitment to Nepal's future.